Welcome in and welcome to the Legacy Ride. I am the legacy of Jennifer Ent Kaiser. I am Zachary Kaiser, Buckeye Zach, as Andrew would refer, because it is OHIO. And we're about to go down south, actually, but I got to introduce my co-host first. So, Andrew, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good tonight. How you doing, Zach?
I'm doing all right. So let's speed this up, get to our special guest tonight. And before we introduce, you got to do the plug. Got to do the ad. Got to get my cousin some business. Got to make sure I start another small business that America was born to bread, right? So fanghornforesters.com for all your woodworking knickknacks, necessities, millwork, and if you got some construction that needs to be done, he'll come to you. Yeah, he'll be he's in Cincinnati, Ohio, southeastern Indiana, but he will come to you, and he's more than willing to do it. Make some money for him and help you build whatever your dreams are. So fanghornforesters.com. That's Fanghorn, the leader of the Ents. We are Ents, Lord of the Rings, fanghornforesters.com. And I gotta throw out the other plug because I told him to. So everybody, just Warpig, Lindsey Graham, Infinite Zeal Syndicate. Head over to it. Give him a follow on Twitter. He got all them links on his page. I could give you the link right now, but that'll be in the show notes. But help him out, and let's make the world go round with memes, right? So, but let's get to the show. So, again, Legacy Right back in action, and we'd like to welcome Noel, aka the Cajun Libertarian. I told you we were going out south. How you doing, Noel?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for having me on the show, and also thank you very much for the freaking shout out to Infinite Zeal. That's @_Infinite Zeal. Follow him on Twitter. Go check out the link in his bio. He's a long-time sponsor of my show, and that's an excellent shout-out. So I appreciate that very much. That is a fantastic dude, and for no other reason than for him being a great individual, a great human being, you should follow him. Also, do it because he's an advocate for the liberty movement. Period, full stop. Also, thank you, my friend, for having me on the show. I'm greatly appreciative of you inviting me and having me on and taking the time out of your, I'm sure, very busy schedule, as all of us have, to try to keep up with this freaking failing Bidenomics economy, to have me on your show and do what we have to do and what is necessary to do to promote self-governance and the liberty movement. Thank you so much for having me, man.
Hey, not a problem. Thanks for coming on. So, I mean, and speaking of Bidenomics, is it really Bidenomics? I mean, Bidenomics has been going on for so long that I don't even know if we could call it Trumponomics. We could call it Obamanomics.
The Bush economy,
the Bush tax cut economy. Yeah, there you go.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Clinton has had us at a debt, Oh, crap.
Oh, man. Hey, I mean, a weird thing, though, speaking, and this is very conspiratorial, but I just saw something. Back in 2001, we had $3.3 trillion in our national deficit. We've now hit $33 trillion. What's some shit on that? Like, that's kind of creepy right there. So
it's intentional. It's by design. So you can call me Alex Jones all you want. I don't care. Any realistic person that is diagnosing this situation on a micro level and a macro level can understand very explicitly that this is by design. This is not an accident. We can excuse away. And look, I'm probably guilty by playing a bunch of Biden clips of how unbelievably stupid and absent-minded that this man that is quote unquote occupying the Oval Office is. But the fact of the matter remains is that this economic apparatus that we so wholeheartedly and absolutely are, justified in what's the word I'm looking for here? Discriminating against. That's not the word I'm looking for, but just crude. I'm losing it here.
Oh,
Criticizing. There we go.
Yeah.
Criticizing.
Very
Yeah. It stems back towards many, many administrations well past this one, but it just seems to be eclipsing in this current administration because, in my opinion, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, in my opinion, it's sort of accumulating right here at this administration because so many Americans have accepted this standard, quote unquote, standard of economic division and acceptance for so many years now. Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. Here we are. It's been accepted and been promoted, right? The acceptance isn't even the word that I should use there, which is why I've been struggling over so many words, is because it's not about which administration has accepted or promoted. It's the fact that all of them have done it.
Mm-hmm.
All of them have done it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the voters of this evil duopoly have continued to promote their quote-unquote party while they don't even realize it's just one party promoting a globalist agenda, promoting their own self-interest, and they do it and they can sell it off the back of your fear.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
No, that kind of goes with what our hero Andrew, I mean, one of them anyways, always said about voting and the political system in general, and even kind of wiped the Constitution with his ass, critiquing it the way but Lysander Spooner, I mean, the fact is the voters, I mean, we're in the circumstances that we're in, the predicament that we're in, because we've gone astray towards outsourcing our own self needs so we don't have to deal with it. We think the government is going to protect us, but in reality,
power.
But
we outsource our own political power because we're not a nation of we are not a nation of laws. We are a nation of political will. That's a shout out to Steve Dace. We never have been, and we always will be a nation of political will. So what are you willing to do politically to advance your agenda? And for us, and I hope I speak for everyone in the room here, that our political agenda that we want to advance is one of liberty and self-governance, period, full stop, with the limited government in which the only power that they should have is that which preserves our rights, enumerated in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, that the government is withheld to negative rights, period. This is what you can't do. Your only job is to preserve our rights.
Yeah, life, liberty, and property, right? That's it. And then it stops there. Nothing else, no entitlements. I mean, it sucks that this country lived with slavery for all these years, but, I mean, that's a consequence of heavy markets and, of course, land speculation, I mean, that we got to deal with. That finally ended, sadly, through war. Was the war between the states about slavery? No, I don't think so. I think historically, you can look at it. It was just like what you said, Noel, political will. So, I mean, it was two governments colliding, and the federal government needed to put down what the states who succeeded were doing. I mean, we couldn't allow secession. So, I mean,
there was divergence that's been building up for decades and decades. It just came to a head.
It's been an utter disaster. Oh, sorry. You blanked out there for a second. My bad. I was going to cut in.
So
no,
that-
you're fine.
Go ahead, Andrew.
No, yeah.
I was
Going back to it's an absolute nation of political will. It does not matter what you think the laws are supposed to be or what you think the Constitution says that should dictate the federal government. That has not been a real thing for a minimum of 100 years. Without question, that is not the case. And if you think otherwise, then I'm sorry, Republican, because that's who that falls on, to be honest. Democrats, they don't give a F about the freaking Constitution. They just want to rampage every single thing that they want pushed through. But it's the Republicans that still believe that the Constitution actually has some sort of authority over the governance that we have hired. We hired to represent us. Let me ask you a question. Do you feel represented? Do you feel represented?
Never.
Because I don't.
Never.
not really.
Never.
I don't. So is this actually a constitutional republic? Or is this some sort of system of governance that we've seen in history that is just a oligarchy, judicial tyranny that has been replayed throughout history, being repackaged and resold to you as some sort of, quote unquote, you're allowed to make decisions in this system? Excuse me.
Sounds like a banana republic.
It sounds like a democracy to me.
Yeah, it sounds like ancient Athens too.
Yeah, democracy is a joke. It was a mistake. It was a mistake. Can we all just be self-reflective here and just admit to the fact that democracy was a mistake? I mean, like, for real. Right? We can have our constitutional republic and still have a democratic process, or can we not?
Yeah, that's what the founders. Yeah, that's what the founders thought when they were going through the revisions of the articles or with the articles and then the revisions of the articles. They thought the same thing. They knew the history of the classics, Greece, Rome, and the Renaissance, and they realized democracy doesn't work. Republicanism really, there's some faults there. I mean, look, empire was created with Rome. Let's combine the two, but we'll limit it, and then we'll branch out and have these three separate powers that separate an executive from a judicial to a legislative. Law will be made that is enforced from this party, and then you go from there. It's supposed to be separation in what? To check and balance everything, right? It doesn't seem like that's ever really occurred. I mean, the country fell apart. Honestly, I would say about 1776 or 1796. It fell apart then too. 1790, 95, 96 when the first panic, the first true economic panic came about because of the first Bank of the United States, land speculation, printing of excess money. I mean, we're just repeating. Like, you go from one bank to another bank, finally got rid of it for 20 years before the National Bank Act. But, I mean, the National Bank Act that Lincoln signed pretty much just set precedent for the central bank known as the Federal Reserve System, which is even more consolidating and monopolizing, even more so than the first two United States banks. I mean, they are literally a monopoly on the money supply. And that's where it starts, in my opinion. So what do y'all think?
Yeah, that's certainly, if we're all feeding from the same river, how can you know if you're drinking poison or not, right? If everybody's speaking the same language, how do you ever break out and diversify?
Andrew, we're having some very tough troubles with being able to hear you, or at least I am on my end. But just to pick up on what Andrew is talking about, for sure, he's exactly right. And Zach, You're 1000% right for sure. Like, people truly, they do not understand. They genuinely are ignorant on the fact that the moment the Constitution was implemented, it was betrayed. Within 18 years, listen to me, folks, within the first 18 years of the Constitution being implemented, it was betrayed. It was destroyed. It was destructed. It was utterly violated. And what people truly don't understand, this is one of my biggest frustrations with America, and I guess with society as a whole, is that they want to look to cultural issues to solve problems. And yes, I am a cultural warrior. I am on front of the lines fighting the culture war. But what they don't understand is that the real battle is at the economic educational front. That's where it lives and dies. There is no culture war without an economic battle. There is no culture war without a financial front that is dictating what happens afterwards, because everything that we deal with is derived from your dollar. From your dollar. When you talk about the trans issue, it's because of your dollar. When you talk about the Ukraine issue, obviously it's because of your dollar. Everything is derived and directed back towards economic issues. And I learned that from a very special friend of mine who's been in this libertarian fight for a long time. But I did not connect the dots of the monetary issue that really drives all of our issues, be it economical, which are all the issues. I have to nail that point. Every issue is an economical issue, but to every other issue that you think is not related to the economy, you're wrong. You're wrong. I'm not talking to y'all or the audience. I'm talking to the people that are ignorant to the matter. Every single issue is derived from economics. And you can really, if you just dive off into the scientific data, right? The analytical metrics of what we do with the society, with how we measure if a society works or not. It all comes back to basically Keynesian economics versus Austrian economics. Take your pick, because at the end of the day, you're picking your poison. And me, I'm going to take Austrian economics all day long.
More Menger and Mises and less Marx and Keynes and Fabian democratic socialism. I mean, that's where the political apparatus comes. There's less Marx and more Keynes and the Fabians of old, and in the 20s and the 30s that got together. Yeah, they realize consume. We can burn it all up.
It's truly amazing to me. Like, somebody who's been in politics for less than, I don't know, max 3 years, that can look at the situation that's happening right now. And I'm talking about me, specifically. Me, been in politics for 3 years, max. Can look at the situation and look at what's being presented by the progressive left, which, if you really dive into it, the conservative right actually freaking co-signs. And then you understand, when you come back to the reality of what drives money and people's priorities, is economics. So what is your priority? Do you want actual subservience in the economy sector, economic sector, which that's what Keynesian economics gets you? You're just a slave to the system. Or do you want economic freedom? because there is no freedom if your money isn't free. Period. So it's Austrian versus Keynesian. Period. Full stop. And if you subscribe to the Austrian economics, it's free money. It's free capitalism, which means you are free. Because if I can buy, sell, and trade without overt freaking observance from a government, if I can do with my money what I want, that's freedom. If you cannot do with your money what you want, you are a slave. That's just a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that leads to Andrew's question right here, because I know you're thinking it right now. So ask away.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, basically, they work off of a framework, right? They farm outrage in order to get people angry and upset, so that they can step in and say, "Oh, well, I have a solution." And then they take what freedoms that are popular, or not even popular, just generally accepted, and they retire them, they grandfather them, and then they'll bring them back 20, 30, 50 years later and say, "Oh, well, this is our freedom now." And it's less the freedom is at a lower quality because there's more regulations on it.
Yeah, it's so freaking obvious. Like, if you can't do with your money what you want, you're not free. Period. Period. If I can't go to you, Zach, if I can't go to you, Andrew, and say, I want to make this trade, and we voluntarily agree on said trade. If the government steps in and says, "No, we're not going to allow that," are you free?
Not really.
Absolutely not.
Like, literally backtrack that towards every single situation ever and explain to me how you're free. You're not.
You're free as long as you can continue the narrative.
But you're not free. You're just continuing the government oppression that's happened through the existence of the entire planet, through the entire existence of evolution of man. You're not free. Because
if you continue the narrative, sorry about cutting, but if you continue the narrative, you get the freedoms of what you are privileged to do. That's not really, freedom is not freedom, but you don't get the liberty to live on and do your thing and be left alone. So
you're trading in brownie points for freedom points.
Yeah, pretty much. So there's no liberty. There's freedom to an extent.
Zero liberty, because at any time, at any point, they could say, "You know what? I don't like what you just did." So you're not allowed to do it anymore. But conversely, if they're not allowed to do that, then you're allowed to make monetary decisions on every level of every choice without their consent. And might I mind everyone that's going to listen to this podcast, and please listen to it. Subscribe to the channel. Share the show with your friends. Smash that like button, because the podcasts are still the number one avenue. They're the best avenue from your word of mouth for success. Smash it, share it. If you're not free with your monetary exchange, and I think, really, to be honest, I'm going to sidetrack here. I'm a rabbit hole, so I'm probably going to get way off track. I apologize. But
hey, by all means.
When you cannot access or provide free, unmitigated transactions with whatever monetary value that you and the voluntary participant deems worthy, if you can't do that, you're not free. You're not that. And this is, oh man, I just realized this is something that Hotep Jesus posted. Shout out to Hotep Jesus. He follows me. A lot of people don't like him because he's pretty kind of anti-Semitic, so not a fan of that. But yeah, if you're monetary exchange, right? So here's the bog down. People think that monetary value or monetary exchange is based specifically on some piece of freaking paper via fiat value or whatever else. It doesn't matter. If your societal acknowledgement of what a monetary value is predicated upon something that doesn't exist within the real world, then we're in trouble. And we're in trouble. Let me explain that to y'all. We're in trouble, okay? Because what I see as monetary value, what has intrinsic value, and what you, Andrew, and Zach might deem as intrinsic value might not be actually the case. But it doesn't matter when the whole of society deems a worthless piece of dollar is all of a sudden valuable. No. What if the entire system goes down? You know what? Maybe, just maybe, if I have a stockpile of ammunition, food, water, and medical supplies, isn't that intrinsic value? I don't know. I'm just asking.
Of course. Yeah.
Well, this goes back to the 1700s and 1800s. You know, there was a big push to reform society. We call it the Social Security movement, and I think that really ties into how things are today. Is that if you can't, pollute on your own property, if you can't pollute in your own society, do you really have any rights, or do you have to be a strictly perfect person 100% of the time? And a lot of people that like to moral grandstand and virtue signal, they would probably fall into that category as social purists. They think they can reform society for the better, and they use the laws in the state to do so.
So you're just talking about a cultist, right? I mean,
yeah.
You're literally defining somebody who is a hive mind that has never decided for one instance of their freaking lives to think outside of the box and be like, well, hold on a minute. I'm going to leave it right there. Just hold on a minute.
Hey, I'm all for freedom as long as it's legal. Like the meme goes.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm all for freedom, but there's no but. There is, if you're not hurting anybody or you're not taking their stuff, go do your crap. I don't care if you want to drive yourself into the depths of methamphetamine addiction. Go for it. That's your choice. But the minute you hurt somebody or you take their stuff, I have a freaking problem. And you damn sure better not have a problem with me shooting you in the face. I hope that doesn't get you demonetized.
Especially if it's on your property.
Well,
then you definitely have a reason to shoot them.
Specifically, I should have clarified. Specifically, if they're on your property with castle doctrine, all of that. Yeah, right.
Who are you going to call? The morgue.
The morgue, yeah. I think it's the coroner, though. I think they take them.
Oh, yeah, well, that'll work, too.
Call the coroner, ambulance. It's all good. One dead meth head, gone. But, I mean, that's how it is, though. I mean, the vices, the vices are not crimes. If people want to shoot up heroin or smoke dope or drink and drive. I mean, I don't even care. If you want to drink and drive, you're an idiot. But as soon as you crash into somebody else, if you end up harming somebody else, you just committed a crime.
Yeah.
Because of your stupid decision. But I mean,
you have to do something to be something.
Mm-hmm. So
it's so simple.
Mm-hmm.
It's so simple. Like, I literally have. Let me rephrase that. I literally do not care if you drive drunk, but if you crash your car into somebody, guess what? Yeah, you should face the most max penalties for what that law says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just like with the gun issue. I mean, you know, big old guns. They're the assault rifles, right? I mean, the only person that can the only way you assault is if a human being assaults. But with the gun issues, I mean, people get busted all the time for just having a hand loaded or not, having a loaded weapon in their vehicle or on their person or unloaded, whatever. Just having the firearm, especially if they're a felon. But why?
Yeah,
they haven't committed a crime.
do me a favor, real quick. Define assault weapon.
We'll be here all day.
I'm just gonna stare at the screen. Assault weapon. That's where. Hold on. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go do some math. go contact my Harvard people. So no, you can't. I mean, you really can't.
No, you can. You just got to ask the CIA.
Well, yeah.
That's good. I like that. Ask the CIA. You can actually define an assault weapon. And here it is. Anything, any object, including your own personal body part that was used to assault another person.
Oh, yeah.
That's an assault weapon.
Yeah. Which makes no sense to call any type of gun an assault rifle.
Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, as long as you're not assaulting anybody, there you go. But
if I stab you with a freaking spork, I have now an assault spork.
If you stab somebody,
if I have a spork in my kitchen drawer, that is not an assault spork. It makes no sense. Assault is a verb. This is what the major, and I truly think this might be the underlying overwhelming condition that is diseased America right now. And it's an etymological debate. It is the definition of verbiage. It is what we actually define as words and their meanings. And you can literally, in my opinion, detract every single conversation down to this argument. Define what you mean. I'll give you a great example. I feel like I just did. Define assault weapon. Not possible, because weapon and assault don't go together. Assault is a verb. That's an etymological debate. That is a debate on the English language. Because assault is a verb. So assault weapon doesn't make any sense cognitively. Define what a woman is. What's a woman?
I'm a woman, guys. I just changed myself to a woman.
So
I am a woman. Hear me roar.
The complete defiance of what the actual etymological definition of woman is.
Well, in layman's terms, and to be real, I mean, a woman has a vagina and some tits, and a man has a penis. There you go. I just went to prison in 1984.
And that's my point, right?
Yeah.
Because we can really have the conversation if we just drive it all the way down
Mm-hmm.
to the etymological debate. And
Yeah.
if anyone that actually wants to have the serious conversation about what's happening in America, we can do it defined upon what words mean. Because
Mm-hmm.
the definition of the English language has been perverted. Full stop.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, you think we're on the verge of all this culture war and the monetary monopoly that's obviously coming crashing to the ground.
Define
I
money.
mean, so what it is,
Define
money would be anything that brings value towards the service of any exchange. But value is subjective upon the nature of who is within the exchange, the transaction. So, but anything that holds its value. Now define currency.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Now you're carrying it on to the logical conclusion, which I fully expected y'all to do anyway.
Yeah.
But the whole point of my rants, my apologies for going way too long. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm very passionate about this.
No.
That's exactly right. Is because I want people that are going to watch. Please watch the podcast, share it. The number one form of being able to get this information out there in sharing the information is through word of mouth. So please like the show, share it, and get it out there, and subscribe to the channel, please. With that being said, exactly my point, right? This is a underlying fundamental definitional reason that while we're in the state that we are in, it is definitional. It is etymological. And I will say this. I don't preach at my audience, and I'm not trying to preach at yours. But it's divine, period. Because if you look through the scriptures of the Bible, if you look what Jesus said, it's all about truth versus lies. Satan is the father of lies. Jesus is the father of truth. And so when you look at all of this going on, what you will see, as I've just pointed out, is a pattern of perversion of the truth. Satan will never just outright, or almost never outright lie. What is he going to do? He's going to pervert the truth so that you get just a little bit of what's actually happening, and then he feeds you the lie that is the more acceptable, and at this day and age, the most societally acceptable answer to what's actually going on.
So with all the lies and the perversions and the mixtures of wordplay, I mean, the culture wars of today, do you think that's going to be inevitably going to force a complete split? Are we on the verge of some type of succession, a division in the country, a divorce, however you want to call it, considering we're on wordplay?
That's a valid question. Let me start off with that. That's an extremely valid question. Let me start off with, do I think we need it? Yes. I'm sorry, okay? But I do not think that I can share a government with these people. I just don't. I don't see how that's possible. Is it viable? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So we're going to have to figure out something else. No, I am not willing to share a government with these psychopathic progressive Democrats who are literally trying to mutilate children and destroy you in every liberty in the sense. No, We cannot share a government with these people. We can't. But I'm afraid that if we start to actually entertain the idea of a secession, aka a national divorce, aka what we left England for, I don't think that ends well. And I just can't see how there's a non-violent outcome to that. But I hope I'm wrong. Like, I do want a national divorce. I really do. But I
think it could potentially work because, there's this concept called polycentric governance where governments compete against each other to attract different citizens. I mean, if you realistically think about it, the 50 states, without a national government, they're there to enable competition between each other to draw the best and the brightest out of the areas.
Yeah.
You're talking about federalism. Yeah.
Actual federalism.
I'm a full-blown fan of federalism, right? Like, let the states do themselves. Let the states govern themselves. 100%. I'm totally on board with that. My question to you would be, let's take the child mutilation aspect and the abortion aspect to its full conclusion. Let's say, as we already know and as we have already seen, California says we are a sanctuary state for child mutilation. Oklahoma is completely anti-child mutilation. We're talking about all right. So what happens when parents start to take a married couple? The mom takes her child to California for the transgender, quote unquote, health care. But the dad says no.
Well, I believe, if you're going to immigrate, you should be sponsored. So that'd be kind of hard if immigration is restricted.
Yeah. I mean, if they're both in agreement for it, there's really nothing we all can do. That's their personal business. It is what it is. It sucks, but it's despicable. But if it's split down the middle, I think there'll be a hard enough chance, unless, well, I mean, I guess theoretically you could see California could still sponsor the mother and just tell the father to go fuck himself, and she gets to come in.
And what? And then what?
Well, then the father asserts his rights and goes and claims his child.
Yeah.
But he's not legally allowed to.
Under the current situation, yeah, but in a newer model, that certainly wouldn't be the case.
We would, yeah.
What? Okay.
There's no solutions. There's only trade-offs.
Essentially, we would have a situation with what was that kid from Cuba years ago that stranded? His mom died out at sea, and
down in he made it to Florida,
but it was down in Florida. But you had the same situation with him because he landed legally, being Cuban. He landed on the beaches, or actually, they found him still at sea. He was in American waters where they found him. He wound up on Florida soil, so American soil, technically automatic. I'm drawing a blank on what they call it.
Yeah.
But automatic
asylum. He was granted asylum.
Automatic asylum, but his father decided to claim his rights as a parent in Cuba, and he had a few family that were in Florida that did take a hold of him, and there was a whole big ordeal, and it did go through the courts. To a certain extent, they both got United States and Cuba both got into it, the governments, and essentially the father ended up winning out, and Alien Gonzalez was his name, or Alien Gonzalez. The kid ended up getting shipped back to his father because the mother was deceased, the family had no right, but we're still looking at a totally different scenario. It would depend on the jurisdictions and how the father could use his rights in this scenario, because in this situation, this fictitious this potential situation, the mother's still alive, and the mother's the one that's taking the kid to California, father's staying in Oklahoma.
But it's not hypothetical. It's actually been
it's
been happening.
It is happening, yeah. So it's been happening.
But you're proving my point with the Cuban example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're proving my point, because it's not a matter of supporting or not supporting secession or national divorce. It's a matter of amen for federalism. I am a big fan. I want that.
Mm-hmm.
I want the states to be able to have the people of that state decide what happens in their state. But what happens when we incorporate this hypothetical of a mom, and let's be real, most of the time the women are the ones doing this to the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm using a very esoteric example.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when the mom takes her kid to another state to get their genitals lopped off and sterilized for life when they're 15 years old?
Mm-hmm.
And the dad says, absolutely not. We live in this state where that's not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
We have a real problem.
That's where,
yes,
I know.
It's going to be a lot of court cases, a lot of court, a lot of trials, a lot of settlements.
Correct.
I mean, that's going to have to go through, and by that point, who knows if mom in this situation says, "Who cares? We're getting her."
Yes, exactly. So now, carrying that train of thought, carrying that to its logical conclusion, as we know how the court works,
mm-hmm.
this will never be resolved
Mm-mm.
prior to the father's concerns. Right? What would happen was the child would get butchered per the mom's request, because said state, let's say California, says, no, you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still going through the court system.
Mm-hmm.
So the child is already mutilated, while the dad, who's already disadvantaged from the court system, wants to combat it. How long before that results in something undesirable?
It's already resulted in something undesirable, because
Thank you.
The court system is centralized.
Yeah.
And it's in favor of the woman, not realistically 99%, but a high majority of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have a prejudice against men. Because
I don't think it has anything to do with I think it has more to do with they need to make them short.
No, historically, these laws were designed to prevent men from, having children back in the 1800s, and then leaving, because there wasn't no support system back then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they would take them to court, and it would make them come back.
Yep.
Go deeper. Go deeper. You're right. You're on the right track. Keep going.
Yeah.
It's because fatherless homes are the detriment to any functional republicanism or democratically processed society. Fatherless homes are the reason why. Now, I jumped way, but we're on a podcast, right? So I can't just dive into every freaking dissection of the evolution of the processes that has happened within any sort of functioning democratically based society. I can't go into that, but I'm jumping ahead. That's why. Now we have to take the next step. Why would they want to ruin the rudimentary basic function of a successful republicanism with a small r, not Republican as the political party goes, but like this democratically successful society. Why would they want to destroy the nuclear family? And then
job
go
security.
ahead.
Jobs, yeah.
Huh?
Job security.
Job security.
So, but not only that, but also, as Murray Rothbard would say, the state is parasitic and they need to expand off their monopoly on violence. But job security.
That's it.
Which is job security.
Job security. Job security and wealth advancement. 100%. Because they did it under the guise and freaking lie that you can have your dream. You can have your cake and eat it too.
Mm-hmm.
While we overtly, right in your freaking face, destroy the very foundation of society, which is the nuclear family. They'll destroy it right in your face and freaking sell it to you as something that's good to advance their own wealth. And then they will lobby the Marxists and socialists and then freaking outright communists at this point and sell it to you as it's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
The criterion of truth.
It's great.
The criterion of truth is that it works even when no one's prepared to believe it. Ludwig von Mises.
It's amazing what happens when you just ask a few questions and you actually genuinely want to have some real answers. Right?
Oh, yeah. Which is, it's hard to do. You got to really dig deeper in order to get those questions answered. Sometimes you won't ever get those questions actually answered, but the fact that they keep getting asked and that, I mean, if you keep pressing, eventually the house of cards is going to come down. So, I mean, just keep building. Just keep building that house of cards top heavy and keep coming at them. And eventually it's got to fall.
I want to disagree, and I tend to disagree because I don't think it's that complicated. That's the only part I'm going to disagree with you on that. I agree with everything else. And we are absolutely 100% a house of cards.
Mm-hmm.
This entire dream, this entire philosophy of liberty, which was never tried before, is built on a house of cards, and we call it America.
Mm-hmm.
And it hinges on one aspect: your defiance of bad law, your defiance of injustice, your support of the First and Second Amendment. But the fact of the matter is that we don't have the majority on our side with that anymore. Thank God we still have a podcast like yours to where we can have this discussion and we can reach the masses. And hopefully, I pray to God, this will reach people that need to be reached because they fundamentally, at their core, at the rudiment structure, they don't understand economics, and they don't realize that all of this comes down to money and power, which is economics. They can't relate the two, right? So hopefully with our still, even though it's on freaking life support, our First Amendment can reach people so that this podcast, like yours, and I'm hoping, because I'm guessing the topics that you presented to me prior to going live and the conversation that we had is going to be extremely fundamental in economics and in the proper workings of society, the skeleton, the bones of how we run a functional, democratically processed society. I hope it reaches them, because, to be honest, if it doesn't, then we're riding on borrowed time.
Mm-hmm. And we may already be riding on borrowed time anyway. So, but
that's my fear.
Yeah.
The big challenge is that, you know, they come up with these laws and they never expire. So every time you launch a protest, a legal protest against one law, they've already got 3 laws on the books.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for liberty to scale when it's being suppressed constantly.
Mm-hmm.
The average American breaks 3 felony laws every day. Every day. So how are we free? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to yell, but my God.
Mm-hmm.
How are we free? If you're breaking 3 felonies, you're violating. You're a felon 3 times a day, and you don't even know it. Explain to me how we're free.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference between a criminal and a convict, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I hate to be the one to serve up a bunch of black pills, right? And so, but that's where we're at. We are at there, right? Like the in my opinion, at this point, the obligatory duty is that on every occasion that you have the opportunity, you need to be letting people know exactly what they're looking at. And that sucks. That is something in your face that you should not, as a freaking American, have to deal with. That's a fact. That's truth. And I apologize to an extent of exposing to the masses those truths. But at the end of the day, answer me this. I'm genuinely curious, because I hope I'm wrong. Is there another way we can combat this overt and obvious tyranny if you don't know what's happening?
Well, for one, you can divert from their money supply by jumping to the other options that are out there. So you got Bitcoin. Well, fuck Bitcoin. You got Bitcoin Cash. You got Monero. You got all these other crypto options. Yeah, there's some shit coins. Bitcoin's been hijacked, but you do have Bitcoin Cash. And then you always have what humanity has always used for thousands of years: gold and silver as the greatest hedge of money and currency, and I mean, greatest medium of exchange known, because everybody wants it and everybody is willing to use it and will take it. So
don't forget about platinum.
You got platinum too. Don't forget about bronze as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Did you just tell me that all of your security and liberty was economically based? Because I'm confused. I'm pretty sure that the low IQ moron that you have on this guest, that you have as a guest on this show today, freaking very basically explain that all of your liberty and all of your freedom is based on economic value. Is that what I just heard?
I don't know what you're talking about. I use toilet paper.
No, it was
okay.
I trade in toilet paper.
I trade.
Do that. Do the toilet paper.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure the low IQ moron that just spent the entire episode talking about economic freedom and how liberty is tied into it is definitely wrong. Definitely wrong.
Just so you know, people, this was all a lie. We're coming out. This is all a facade. Go back. Go consume.
Biden 2024.
Yeah.
Praise.
Biden Fetterman 2024. It is in fact a no-brainer. So.
Yes, good job. Yes, Biden Fetterman 2024. Absolutely. Please, for the love of God,
I hope it happens.
Don't do that. I'm at the point right now. Like, what else do we have? Might as well. This clown show. Might as well.
Yeah.
Hey, the more entertaining and the more stupid, the more entertaining, which means the closer we are to collapse, which means black pill turns to white pill. We need inevitable collapse means we can hopefully run anew unless people are just that far gone. I hope not.
They're that far gone.
Yeah, probably.
I like taking the honk pill. I don't know what you're talking about.
Have you ever been on Twitter? Like, you literally, we decided to agree upon this episode on Twitter, and now you act like you've never been there.
Hey, it's X. I don't think it's.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Formerly Twitter.
Formerly Twitter.
You got me. It's X. I was wrong.
No. X formerly Twitter.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have been great. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a wonderful episode. I will share it everywhere I possibly can. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, well, thank you for coming on. So, no, this was a good episode. And like I said, it all comes down to economic freedom. So, yeah, and you don't have to be you don't have to be a genius like Ludwig von Mises to understand that. So, I mean, as we conclude, I mean, anything else to say for anybody?
Yeah. You may not be Mises to be Mises, but you can study Mises and you can learn the basics of economics, because if the money ain't free, the people ain't free. You can also go check out Thomas Sowell, who is one of my absolute, if not my favorite economists. And as always, and as appropriate, Ron Paul was right. Please follow me. I'm Noel, the AKA Libertarian, the Cajun Libertarian. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can listen to my show at the Google Podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and basically wherever you get your podcasts. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all of the above. Thank you so much.
And X.
Great time.
Yeah, and you forgot X.
Twitter. X is my main platform that I like to promote from, because it's the freest platform. The rest of them suck, but I do have major followings on all of them. So please, whatever platform you use, but also, most importantly, when we have these conversations like this, go follow, subscribe, and watch podcasts like these from my man Buckeye Zach and Legacy Andrew. Like it, follow it, hit the notifications bell so that every time they drop an episode, you will know about it, because these are the conversations that matter. It doesn't matter what the freaking mainstream media is pumping out. If you want to know the truth, and if you want to know how to fight back against the system, and you want to be the person that you're supposed to be, and that's free, you go watch, follow, and subscribe to this podcast from Zach and Andrew. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
No, thank you again. So, and remember, print guns, not money.
Print guns, not money.
Yeah. So, Andrew, anything else in your corner before we wrap this up?
The men of the future will fight for rights we don't even miss. Max Stirner.
Wow.
Which is very true, because we're seeing it now. So.
Wow. I've never heard that before. I want that quote. Send it to me, please.
I will.
Definitely, we'll definitely get you the quote. So, and it was in the book Ego. It was Ego in Its Own by Max Stirner. So, but interesting book. I just finally started actually fully reading it. But before we go into more tangents, let's wrap this up. So this is The Legacy, right? I am the legacy of Jennifer and Kaiser. I am Zachary Buckeye Zach Kaiser, and this is my compadre Andrew Joseph, or The Legacy of Andrew. We'd like to thank Noel, a.k.a. the Cajun Libertarian, once again. And if you don't follow him, go follow him. Twitter or X, formerly known as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and anywhere and everywhere that you can find podcasts. So until next time, peace.